Hey guys, this is a bonus lunchtime throw. I think it's to be listened to whenever you see it, right? So don't pay attention to time. All right, what we've got here, I threw some dice too. You really can't see them in here, but I put them in the intro. We've got 4th house, Cancer, South Node, okay? And for our cards, I'll explain all that. Don't worry about it. We've got the energy of the 10 of Cups. We've got the 10 of Coins. We've got the 4 of Swords. And we've got the Knight of Swords. Okay? 2 10s can speak of a wedding. They also, I think in here, given what our dice are, and the 4 of Swords in the middle there, being kind of Ascension, it's a growth process, right? Which kind of goes along with what our weekend throw is too, to a more pinpointed direction here, okay? First of all, South Node in Cancer in the 4th house, those are the things that we grow up with, right? The North Node of that is Capricorn, right? Our careers, trying to step outside of the psychology of what we learned before we drove our bikes off the street, right? How we use and try to grow from, change, steer clear of, enhance, going against your 4th house, right? 4th house is usually a house where you go through some pretty tough stuff there, right? If you've got no creativity, if you're, that's a 2, sorry about that. He takes the long way home. I don't know why he does that, but he does it. So anyhow, it's about, 4th house stuff is kind of about where South Node, first of all, is the stuff that we're trying to get away from. North Node is where our soul grows. So that's where those houses always join like that, right? We take from one to gain to the other. However, this is a tough placement because it comes with the paradox of, you know, what your parents kind of drove home when you were a child, right? That takes most of our adult lives trying to wade our way through, right? But with this placement, it's trying to get away from kind of the stigmas that were put on you, right? Along with your siblings. Were you were the good child or the bad child or the smart child or the pretty child or the dumb child or the creative child, or you had some kind of label attached to you, right? It's usually the house where I find that the child usually had to be the parent to the parent. That's why I'm a big advocate of we're born through our parents into these houses for the lessons, right? But the parents will usually pack the wallop of the lesson in and of itself, right? So it's either a place where we're, you know, your parents can be overbearing. You had to be the parent, so you never got to be a child, which means you never got to develop, you know, what was your purpose? What was your creativity? You never got to be the child, the innocence, where, you know, your mind just grows and develops, and it's, you know, what does it feel like to play in the sandbox? What does ice cream taste like? What does freedom taste like? What is, you know, how are your summer vacations spent? It's the dialogues you have also with your parents, right? It's the things about, you know, were you nurtured? Did you have to nurture? Did you have to put up boundaries? Did you need to protect yourself? A lot of stuff can happen in that house, and it's a vital house, okay? So how we are able to grow in life after we drive off the street has a lot to do with what was formed in that house, right? Were you told you were good? Were you overprotective, you know, to the point where you never got to express your creativity? It never got to develop. You never let it, you know, it couldn't free flow. So this is when we get into adult life. I'm like, what is my purpose? I have no desires. What are, you know, I don't know. And this is why, right? So as long as we know it, we know where to go back to, and we know how to get where we're going. That's what I think is going on here, because the 10 of Cups coming in as the energy is, you know, am I emotionally happy? By the time you get to a 10, it's yeah, I'm happy, but I'm not joy-filled, right? Or I'm happy, but do you know, what happiness is? Do you know, are you striving for the house and the family and then this and the that because you think that that's how it should be? Or are you really happy there, right? That's a card where I'll always ask someone, you're happy here. It's in a good place. So really look at your life and see, I'm happy here, but are you growing there, right? Being okay in a certain spot doesn't mean anything. It just means it's not bad, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean it's good either. So that's all I'm saying. With that energy coming in, and we've got the energy of the 10 of coins. The 10 of coins again is heritage, right? It's old worldly, it's karmic, it's lineage, it's how things have always been done, right? It's generations and generations of cutting the ends off meatloaf still because that's how it was always done, even though it doesn't need to be done that way. It's just, but traditions are born there too. It's not necessarily a negative card, but it can speak a lot of times of dysfunction in childhood, and we grow up and we repeat the same patterns. Are we marrying the same kind of people that we swore we would never? Right? Do we get out of childhood and say, oh my gosh, I will never have a relationship like that, only to look around and realize, holy crud, I stepped into the same old thing, right? These are just, they're just things that can come out. The 4 of Swords is I need to take a time out. When that card shows up, it's like, I've got to step back. It's also a time where, you may be tired. You may not be feeling well. You're not in a really great spot. It's a great time to reflect on things here. Okay. The 4 of Swords is Ascension. It's maturing. It's stepping off the block and realizing that you need to take control of your life now, right? The paradox between the 4th house and the 10th house is losing the crazy of the being scattered in 1,000 different directions, having to take on everyone else's emotion and responsibility. It's now time for you to hunker down and do things for yourself. That's why Cancer is so organized. They need to be organized so that they can get their ducks in a row. Right. And that's a very successful house, but it also pulls on, what you learned from, your parents, the dominating parents. They usually show up in each of those houses, one of the parent. It's usually, I think, the 4th house is the mother, the 10th house is the father, but that doesn't necessarily need to be. For me, it's energies. It's getting your energies balanced, right? And that's all that we're trying to do from the North and the South Node is balance those energies. We need it all. We need to know how to be nurturing and caring, but we also need to know when we say enough. I have to focus on this for now because this is what's important for me. It's usually someone who comes from a past life of being on the home front, being the nurturer for everyone. And they really didn't get to develop their individual things. That's why it goes to the 10th house of Cancer. Where's more significant than what you do in the world, right? It's not just career-wise. It's what are the things that are, what are your passions? What are you good at? That's the key to the kingdom in the 10th house. You need to enjoy what you're doing and you need to focus on that, right? Now, with the outbound card of the Knight of Swords there, the downside of that card is someone who's a narcissist, right? It's someone who has good intention, but they're more about rushing and they're intellectual, yes, but they're very stuck in their ways. I think that card is 3rd decan Virgo Libra, right? It's how do I do what I need to do, but not, you've got to balance in that house street smarts and book smarts. You've got to balance both of those, and you've got to not plow through the building, not run through, situations without being patient. It's I want what I want and I want it now. That's what his energy is, right? We want to balance that a little bit with, let's survey the land first before we jump into the burning building. Let's survey this relationship before, we put the picture on the wall of the family portrait there, because a lot of times this card can be self-driven, ego-driven. It's a lot about, and take out what I just said about the signs. It's just energy-wise is what I'm saying, okay? It's about really just balancing things, not I want what I want when I want it, and that's it. It's about really doing things in a diplomatic way, you know, doing things with other people. There's an air about this card of just arrogance, right? All roads report back to him. This is a great card to have if you're learning something new. It's a great card to have as a business partner, right? It's not such a great card to have as a romantic partner. This is someone who it will more be about them and what they can get from this. It's not, the balance in that card, I think, is more about striking a balance between giving and receiving, thinking and reflecting. It's slowing down. The energy is too fast in that card. It's too, let me rush in and then I'll deal with the consequences. You want to slow down enough to get ahead of what the pitfalls might be. You know what I mean? That's how we get organized in the 10th house. That's how we kind of see how things go before we test it, and we blow through bank accounts, or we blow through jobs, or we want to think before we jump with that card, right? So that's what it's about. It's about taking the things that you do and making them better in the world, right? It's humanitarian efforts. It's caring for other people, but caring for yourself too, right? It's am I in relationships that are they codependent? Do I depend too much on another person, or do I get in relationships where I let the other people depend on me too much, right? It's all about balance. And I think the key to the kingdom in here really lays in that Four of Swords. Okay, it's Ascension. It's how do I lose destructive patterns, and how do I gain growth in here in a balanced way is all that this is about. And then this card shines, right? So I don't think it's negative. I don't think it's positive. I think it's just, it goes very well with what our weekend throw is, right? That's all. Just look at the parts that, you know, maybe aren't, we can tell when something is out of balance because it's making us angry. It's making us frustrated. It's not going well. We're hitting resistance. When we're truly happy, that's when we know we're in balance, when we're truly joy-filled, when we're not settling for things because they're not so bad, they're okay. Okay is not good. We don't want okay. Okay is not going to open the next door for you. Okay is going to bring you boredom, right? So we want to look at things and see where they're balanced, where they're not balanced, and then take it from there. Okay? Thank you so much. I hope I helped you in some way. If you need a private reading, please reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to help you with anything.